everybody? It's your boy Donnie, man. Damn. Y'all see this headline? New York Knicks won a first round pick in a potential Immanuel Quickley trade. And I'm going to be honest with you. I knew this has been on the radar for the Knicks. I knew that this was one of the most likely scenarios. I don't know if it's going to happen, of course, but um, it was always, something with the Knicks with their guard situation that had to give. And I think this is one of the first dominoes that will fall. Just summing up the Knicks right now, them being 9-9, you're not good enough to really get a solid player as far as tanking goes or anything like that. But you're also not good enough to make the playoffs. So what can you do? You can add to your options by maybe getting a first round draft pick for a guy in Quickly who this might be a longer video, but I think we're gonna have we need this conversation today. And I'm gonna ask all of you as you watch this video. You give me your honest opinion of him, and then you say how far off I am. I think as a guard, Emmanuel Quigley is a good player. Like he's not a bad player. You know what I'm saying? In fact, I think he's a talented player and he has loads of potential. You know what I'm saying? And in fact, before I get into my first opinion of him, let me read a little bit for those of you who don't really know what's going on. So it's saying here that the Knicks have made Quickly available, determined to land a strong draft pick for the third-year guard. A 2020 first-round draft pick, of course, showed potential, but he hasn't really developed a consistency. Never topped 40% from the floor, and is shooting a career low 30.9%. You know what I'm saying? Um, he's a good rebounder though this year, which is something that was actually a surprise because it wasn't high on my radar that quickly everyone was going to be a good rebounder. But back to my evaluation of Emmanuel Quickly, and that's where we're going to need to go. Let's go over here first. Let's go over here, right? So these are his stats for about the last, well, probably the first 9 games, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, so we got about the first 9 games. And in the first 9 games, what do you see? Like we're just talking regular stats wise. You got 4 points, 9 to 8, 24, 13, 6, 6, 6, 18. This is the summary for me of Quickly. I don't think Quickly really truly knows what his game is at the NBA level. At first, we thought that he was gonna be a point guard, and he was. I remember the first year at some point he was given point guard responsibilities, and even the second year also, because we thought that this was gonna be quickly, developing into a guard who can both score and distribute the ball. Then we realized that it really wasn't the best of ideas to have the ball in his hand because he tended to make bad decisions and he wasn't a good passer to begin with. So what did we do? We tried to make him a primary scorer. We tried to and the three ball is what really separates Quickly from most of the guards. He can actually shoot it really well. Like if you look at his percentages in the last couple of years, if you look at the 21 season, he's shooting about 38%. Then he went to 34%, and now he's kind of shooting around 30%. And part of the problem with that is because he takes bad shots. I don't know if he's feeling it. I don't know if he's told to do it, if he's open. But his decision making is so poor sometimes that it totally drives down his percentage. And at this point, it drives down the whole team sometimes when he just doesn't shoot the ball well because he forces shots. Now, he has the potential to hit them, but the problem is that there's no consistent flow to him. And that's the story of his life. Like for me, Quickly, I can't understand why Quickly as a guard does not have he doesn't have a mid range. That floater is the only thing he's got really to get inside the paint at this point. He's pretty quick actually, but he doesn't have many moves. As a guard to get by his defender. I already told you about him not being the best of passers, and his three ball really. The team that he plays for in the Knicks, it's not a team that moves the ball particularly well for him to just be open and shoot. You know, But at the same time, he can't create for himself. So since Quickly can't create for himself when he's on the floor all the time, he does it sometimes though. Occasionally this year he's been able to get to the hoop and get a bucket, but it's not something he does all the time. So it leaves him in a situation where sometimes I feel like Quickly sometimes almost guesses what he thinks is best for him to do on the play instead of going with the flow of the game. And why is that important? Like if you go with the flow of the game, then you develop consistency. If you kind of just guess back and forth, now you have what you have here. And ultimately, as a guard, when there's no solid product after at least 3 or 4 years, trade rumors are going to start happening. And I don't know what direction Quickly goes into. I think for him personally, leaving the Knicks wouldn't be a bad idea because you get a better sense of his development with a different coach. A different coach, different structure. Maybe have more structure to it and hold him to certain plays, hold him to certain, areas of the court where he actually handles the ball. Because at Tom Thibodeau's, here in New York, I feel like it's more of a free reign kind of thing for Quickly. And, it has to be because game after game, you see Quickly take some wild shots, man. Just shots that you don't need, or he just tends to over dribble sometimes a little bit too. Although when he does hit him, he actually lights it up. Like he has the potential to just be that microwave guy off the bench, and maybe even a starting point guard. That consistently drops at least 17 points. You know what I'm saying? Overall in his career right now, he's averaging about 11. So 17 is really not that much to ask of him. But the problem is how is he going to get that? And the mid range not being there for Quickly for me is it's one of the biggest things that holds him back. Because and not making this about RJ, but RJ has that same problem. If you are a guard and you don't have mid range shooting, it's hard for you to stay in the league. It's hard for you to stay in the league as a guard if you don't have mid range shooting. And couple that with the fact that at least you need to have some other source of offense. You know what I'm saying? Your defense can be great, but there needs to be time that your offense stays consistent. And he's a good defender. I think he's actually one of the best defenders on the team. But after that floater, Quickly fails to have something consistent where he can work on game after game after game. And this is what's the problem with him. This is the problem. 3 years in, we still don't know. Look, 3 years in, we still don't know. And I can run you down the stats again if you want to. But what is this coming down to? He comes off the bench, and really, I think he could have averaged at least already 14. 14, 15 points is not bad. He actually gets a lot of minutes. He doesn't get little minutes. Last game he got 25 minutes. The game before he got 28. These are big minutes. Those aren't small minutes. You're definitely one of the main guys coming off the bench. But for Quickly, I don't know where his game is going to develop to. I don't know. I don't even know who to compare it to. And it's unfortunate because there were talks of him being a point guard, which have faded away. You know, at this point, he's not even a spot up shooter. It's so strange to me with Quickly. And ultimately, I probably think he would benefit from going somewhere else. I don't think it's gonna do him much staying here. You can't start here. You know what I'm saying? But you can definitely make an impact. But I think for his game, I think he needs to go to a team where he can prove that he can play all the time and develop his game even more. Develop a mid range. You know what I'm saying? I gave pluses and minuses as I could, but as you can tell, like for me, like it's I don't want to say no brainer, but it's clear to me that Quickly hasn't really taken the progressions that you needed him to have a solid assessment of where he's going to be. And because you can't get a solid assessment of him, these type of trade rumors are starting to happen. You know what I'm saying? Because ultimately, I don't think that the Knicks can really afford to pay him right now. Now it's a guy coming off the bench, like being as inconsistent as he is. RJ Barrett kind of has that same problem, but he showed more promise in the period before the contract. Even though, sooner or later, even RJ Barrett is going to be involved in these type of talks. You know what I'm saying? There's a surplus of guards on the Knicks right now. There's a surplus of guards. If you don't believe me, we can even look up those stats too. There's a surplus right now. There's definitely a surplus of guards on the Knicks, and because there's a surplus of guards, you know, you're gonna get to the point of the season where you're just looking to say, hey man, we need to make some moves here. You got Grimes, you got RJ, Fournier, Keels doesn't play. You got Sweet, you got Quick. You know what I'm saying? It's like, man, we need to trim down the guards. I think at least one more guard should go, and maybe replace that with another small forward or a center. You know what I'm saying? It just has to be done. Remember, Brunson is already there with D Rose. You know what I'm saying? Like at this point, we need to trim down so that we can actually have something to go forward with. We shouldn't be guessing anymore at this point of the year. We should have a solid, consistent lineup. And then partially that's on Tibbs, Like I do feel like going back to quickly, Tibbs probably didn't develop the best, because Tibbs has been here as quickly as been here. And I don't think Tibbs is really the guy if you want to really go to for development. If you have more finished product to you, Tibbs can work with you, but Tibbs is not really a developmental guy. So partially that's on him as well. I'm not just blaming quickly, but we've always said, especially after the first year, it was best for you to develop something after the floater, which he just hasn't done. You know what I'm saying? Even his three ball is inconsistent because he seems to be guessing when he's feeling like he's hot instead of just going with the flow of the game. And it doesn't leave you with much right now for him. He's a good free throw shooter, though, which is something I forgot to mention. I apologize. He tends to be very consistent from the free throw line, almost shooting close to 90% his first year. Then he went down to 88 and then to 85. So that's something you're always going to get from Quickly. If he does get to the hoop and he does get fouled, he does shoot his free throws really well. But the problem is that you got to be on the court to shoot him, and sometimes Quickly just doesn't stay in the game, long enough making an impact to really hit consistency on those levels. Even though when he does hit the free throw line, he does excellent. You know what I'm saying? That's definitely one of his biggest strengths. But his versatility is probably his biggest weakness because he doesn't have that. Even though he can defend, anything else really isn't up to par for the year that he's at in the NBA, and that's an honest assessment for me. Like, I'm not surprised that he's in trade rumors, and I honestly would trade him with somebody else, if that's even possible. I don't even know if it's possible to get a straight first round pick for him, to be honest, because people wouldn't have to pay him the next year, and they would have to bank that his talent actually saves him. It's kind of a high ask for me to go for a first round pick right away, but you might be able to pair him with somebody else and then ask for a first. Maybe that's a heavier cost to us, but at least you get the two guys off the contract, their contracts off the books. So yeah, but yeah, man, let me know what you think in the comment section, man. Like I'm just looking at this situation like it's bound to happen. Like he's not significantly better, but he's also not that bad as the first year. I swear to God, like in the NBA, the players who got traded the most are decent players. They're not bad players. The bad players don't make it in the league. The decent players, every other year or so, will find a room, a place, and a team that kind of fits their need, and they keep on going and going and going. But eventually, if you want to stay on a team, you got to have something consistent where they can use you for. I think for Quickly that probably is going to just be his scoring, like whether it becomes going to the hoop or just shooting the three ball consistently and getting fouled and going to the free throw line. That's something he should develop. I remember a lot of people were trying to compare him to Maxi, but let's be honest, Maxi is way ahead of him. You know what I'm saying? Like Maxi, it's not even close between Quickly and Maxi, so you can't even make that comparison if you tried. You know what I'm saying? It's just not happening. Maxi has surpassed him by almost 2-3 years now. I think skill wise. So yeah, so Quickly doesn't have much to go by in there, but I think going to a different team would probably help him the best because if he can get more minutes somewhere else, now he can develop things that he needs to work on, like I mentioned before. But let your boy Don know what you think in the comment section, man. I think I would trade him if it really came down to be honest. Not because I think that he sucks, so I think it's just better for his development personally, to go on to another level. But I could be wrong. Let me know what you think in the comment section, man. It's your boy Don. I'm trying to be back with the streams too, man. I'm trying to be back on Friday. It's tough to stream when you had these West Coast trips. They played on the wrong day and the wrong time for the last couple of days, but I hope to be back on Friday, man. It's your boy Don, man. Peace. I'm out.